Next, I got this computer from school. I've wanted one of these for a very long time. I got this shortly after the custom-built computer 2 died. We had a few of these lying around in the back room of the computer lab where all the junk is. We had quite a few of these lying around, and I asked the computer teacher, I said, you know, my desktop computer just died, I had it for video editing, would it be alright if I took one of these since they're just lying around collecting dust? He said absolutely, so I took this home and I absolutely love it. This is a computer I've wanted for a very long time. This is a Compaq Deskpro EN. This computer was made in 2000. This computer has an Intel Pentium 3 processor running at 933 megahertz. It has 512 megabytes of RAM and a 20 gigabyte hard drive. It has a DVD-RW drive which I put in. The original CD-ROM drive was broken, I threw it away. Has a floppy disk drive. And yeah, so for a tour of this thing, power buttons there. You have your microphone and headphone ports. On the right side you have the built-in speaker, which although it's a small speaker is very, very loud and it sounds absolutely awesome. Got a cosmetic discrepancy up here. This was a school computer at one point in time. And on the back here, serial port. We have more audio ports. Oh, the labels are down here. Line out and line in. Parallel port, Ethernet, a second serial port. I didn't know this had two. Wow, I did not even know this had 2 serial ports. I always thought it just had 1. That's pretty cool. 2 USB ports, USB 1.1, but that's alright. Monitor output and PS2 keyboard and mouse. It has the FireWire card from the custom build I put in here. This is my video editing computer now. It's not the fastest thing in the world with a 933 megahertz Pentium 3, but it does the job with the standard definition video that this camcorder uses. And I just love this computer. Like, this is so small and cute, dare I say, for a desktop computer. I just love it. So, I'll open it up here. Set it down. So to open it up, it's completely toolless. There's a tab here and a tab here, and you have to have 2 hands, so I gotta shut the camera off, but you press it on them tabs and the cover pulls right off. So now we're inside. It's a completely toolless case. Compaq did a very good job designing this computer. We have the hard drive and the optical drive. This drive caddy flips up just like that to reveal the cables, and the nether reaches where you can see the CPU and CPU fan. See the power supply fan, the RAM slots, a CMOS reset button, which I've accidentally hit too many times using this cable when I put the caddy down. FireWire card right there. Let's see, yeah. This card caddy pops right off. It has 3 PCI slots. I thought the Deskpro ENs had an AGP slot, but maybe that's just the desktop model. So this is the small form factor model. That goes right back in like that. Did I get it? Yeah, there we go. And this is a switch here, so it detects when the cover's off and sends you an error if you have the case protrusion setting enabled in the BIOS, which I don't. You can also lock the case. There's an electric lock under the power supply here, which, let me take this out again. This flips up to a degree. I don't want to force it. There we go. Power supply flips up. It's a 120 watt power supply. The smallest power supply I've ever seen in a desktop computer. We have some dust here that I've got to clean up. Phew. And there's the lock right there. So that's that. Put this back down. Just like that. Completely modular case design. I love it. Very well thought out. There. And very small processor heatsink. It's only like 1 inch high. That's the Intel 815 chipset, which was a great chipset, one of the best chipsets of the early 2000s. Very good chipset, good graphics for the time. We have two IDE buses, one for the hard drive, one for the optical drive, and the floppy plugs in right there. When I got this thing, the floppy didn't work, and I thought it was bad. Turned out this cord was halfway unplugged. Fan plugs in there. These Compaq Deskpro ENs are also unique because not only do they have variable fan speed, but it's user adjustable too, using software like SpeedFan. Both the CPU fan and the power supply fan, they're adjustable in speed. You can't adjust them independently, but they're both adjustable to the same speed. They're both variable. So that's pretty much inside this thing. Now I'm going to make sure I get this cable in the right place. There we go. So I'll put the cover back on and we'll power this up. This thing runs Windows XP Professional. I forgot one thing. It says on the speaker, this whole big thing's a speaker, even though the driver itself just this little part, but this whole thing's a speaker housing. It says Compaq Premier Sound. I think that's pretty cool. It is a very awesome sounding speaker, and it's only that thick. One more thing, the front plastic faceplate here is not original to this particular Deskpro EN. The one original to this, it was wider than this. This is a little bit yellowed, which I would prefer a wider one if I could, but oh well. The floppy button, the floppy eject button, was intact when I first got it, but later it broke, so I swapped it for this faceplate, which the button is still good. Now here's something I want to pass on as advice if you're ever looking to get a Compaq Deskpro EN. Early production Compaq Deskpro ENs have a floppy eject button with a much simpler spring design. Instead of this wavy plastic spring design, as you see here, like that, springs like that, early production models just have a straight plastic going across, and that breaks after a while. And how do I know this, you may ask, if this is the only Compaq Deskpro EN I've owned? Well, I've looked at all the ones that we've had in the back room of the computer lab at school, and all the ones that have the early production spring design are broken. This is the only Deskpro EN faceplate that we had with a still intact floppy eject button, and the reason it's still intact is because it has this wavy spring design. So if you're looking at a Deskpro EN for sale or that you can get from your school, save it from a junk pile or otherwise, pop the cover off. If there's more than one you can choose from, pop the cover off them and see what they have for a floppy spring design. You want this wavy spring design, not the straight one, because the wavy one's obviously more reliable, and that's why they changed it later on. So there's that piece of advice. I actually have the eject button from the original faceplate this computer had right here, and as you can see, it just has a straight plastic thing that springs up and down instead of the wavy plastic, and this piece right here broke off. So there's an example. Alright, everything's hooked up. Let's give it a boot, and I mean that in the most humane way possible. The MaxStore hard drive has that classic sound to it. I'm actually dual booting Windows XP and Windows 98 on this. Why do I have Windows 98 on it, you may ask? Well, you'll know later. But let's boot to Windows XP here. You just heard the speaker pop when the amplifier kicked on. And once again, we have to set the refresh rate. As you heard, the speaker sounds absolutely great. once everything's loaded here, this computer is actually quite fast for its age. Actually, it's showing a bit of its pep right now. That's better. But this is quite a fast computer. And uxwbill once said when he made a video of the Deskpro EN, he said, and I quote, what did he say?
It's a very competent performing little computer.
I think he said this is a pretty competent little computer. I think that's what he said. So looking at the properties page here, Windows XP Professional version 2002, Service Pack 3, registered to me, home user, yada yada yada, Intel Pentium 3 processor, 930 MHz, 512 megabytes of RAM. So, we'll open Speed Fan here. You can see Sony Vegas, as I use this for video editing. I believe local temp is the power supply and remote temp is the processor. I think that's what it is. So, the fan's obviously running at 0% right now. Alright, I'm going to set the fan speed to 100%. Just like that. Now we'll put it by the power supply vent. You'll hear the fan spin up. Whoops, press the photo button there. There, we're at 100% now, and it really pushes the air. It does a pretty good job. And our temperatures are 30 and 33. So when I put it down, even just down to 95%, it kicks off instantly. So you listen. So it gets really loud when the fan gets running that fast. But it's a really quiet computer, and if I had a quieter hard drive in this computer would be almost silent as long as it was cool. So let me exit that. So other than that, you know, not much to show. So now we'll just shut her down. This computer originally had 256 megabytes of RAM. The other 256 I added came from the Compaq Presario. It originally had 384 megabytes, I guess, if I remember right. Now the Presario has 128 and this has 512.